I'm walking back home. I just walked up to the local little strip mall they got here, and walking back right now. I thought I would take this as an opportunity to talk about the importance of grounding techniques. And one of my personal favorite grounding techniques right now has been taking a daily walk. And I try to take multiple walks every day. After I got hit by a car and fell down the stairs at when I was staying with my aunt and my grandparents when I first moved here to Mississippi. I have been having really bad ability to, actually be mobile. And since, that was like, 10, 15 years ago, and the original accident was like almost, no, it's been about 10 years. And the original accident was about 13 years ago. And I've only recently been able to walk more than, just a couple of blocks without being in really bad pain. So, it's kind of great where I'm at today. And one of the things that I try to keep in mind is, I used to walk 16 miles a day, every day. It was really important to me. And I was in the best shape of my life then. And I was feeling really good. And then I met my worst experience ever. And they pretty much destroyed me again. Like, I wasn't that I was fixed from the damage my grandparents did. It was that, she was able to re-trigger the trauma bond. And for me, most of my life, that trauma bond was the strongest emotional connection I ever had with anyone. And I didn't know until last year on June 26th that what I thought was a trauma bond, or what I thought was love, was actually a trauma bond. I thought that love was hypervigilance. I used to always think if I was staying up 3 days after meeting someone, that meant I was in love. And that's because, I didn't realize I was a demisexual. I didn't realize that that's what that was. I thought that it was a trauma response for most of my life. No one told me. But my abusers had to have known. They had to. They could not have known. How they exploited it. How they, how I could be a part of, how I could be supporting the LGBTQIA community for my entire life without even realizing that, people have known about demisexuality since 2000. That's not normal, That's not normal that I wasn't able to know about that. I had told people forever, I could only be intimate with people I have a strong emotional bond with. And nobody told me, that's not a trauma response. That's your sexuality. If I would have known that back then, I wouldn't have, tried so hard to, fix myself. Because for the longest time, I've known. Being a supporter of the LGBTQIA community and, a long-time advocate, I was always aware that, shaming yourself for your sexual identity is wrong. Anybody shaming you for it is wrong. And, guys would consistently, try to other me and, make me feel bad because, I wasn't, doing what they were doing. I wasn't, bouncing around from woman to woman. That, it usually took me a long time after a relationship for me to feel comfortable even trying again. And even then, it explained exactly why I kept having the same relationships I kept having over and over again. And it was difficult. And I had never cried happy tears. I'd cried plenty of sad tears in my life. I have cried a river of sad tears in my life. But crying happy tears was not something I ever did. The day I figured out what demisexuality was, I cried for 3 hours straight. I have never cried that much, let alone happy tears. Like, I'm used to crying myself to sleep at night, never for 3 hours. It really changed things for me. It really awakened me to the fact that I was not broken, at least there. And it was only because of that I was able to realize it's wrong to shame yourself for your sexual identity, but it's also wrong to shame yourself for your trauma responses. I didn't think of that. I knew all along it was okay to, shame myself for my trauma responses, to try to fix them. The whole time I was doing conversion therapy on myself and I didn't even know it. And I knew conversion therapy was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I didn't realize until last year that what I thought was a trauma response was actually my sexual identity. And even though I knew that shaming myself for my sexual identity was wrong, I didn't know that shaming myself for my trauma responses or my trauma was wrong. And that's something to think about. I think a lot of us may have been there. It's like, you can't relate to that, don't worry. Like, you are lucky. You are very lucky. But I'm sharing this in hopes of those that can relate to it. You kind of see, it is just as wrong for you to shame yourself for your trauma responses as it is to shame yourself for your sexual identity. By the way, right here is where I was standing. Right here is where I was standing. The other day when the fireworks started, as I turned around right at this point. Ain't that something? I was just walking home from the dollar store and they just started booming. The first light I saw was a green light. And green is my color. Green's my favorite color. I hate money, but I love green. Basically, I love that I had that experience. I love that how it felt when I saw it. It was like that whole thing was just for me. As saying that I'm doing a good job, that my higher power is grateful to me, or higher powers are grateful to me for doing what I needed to do. And, taking over the group and trying to do everything I can here to make sure that, this is a safe space for all of us, and sharing what I can in hopes of helping other survivors heal. I truly appreciate everyone in this group who has, contributed and shared their truth, because it is extremely important to us. Like, if it wasn't for survivors sharing their truth loudly at a time when I couldn't even let people know I was a part of the community, when I couldn't speak my truth because it wasn't safe to do so, when I didn't want my abusers to know what I was doing, that I was learning the terms for what they did to me. That growth is extremely important to me. And I hope that you all get something out of this group. And I hope you all are having a wonderful morning. And I hope whatever deity you believe in or lack thereof, I hope it blesses you. If it's just God, or if it's a goddess, or gods, or goddesses, or just the group itself, I hope it blesses you. Have an absolutely wonderful day. And I love you all.